Good afternoon. My name's Nancy Kramer, and I'm very excited to be here with Nora Begrinka, who is the leader of the Refugee Women in Action organization here in Columbus. She is a survivor of the heartbreaking genocide in Rwanda and ultimately made it to the United States via someone doing a documentary of her. And she settled here in the United States and in Columbus, and we are so grateful to have Nora as a member of our community, a woman of achievement, and so much more, an inspiration to all of us. And we're here to talk a little bit about Nora's work with her organization. So first, Nora, welcome, and I just wanted to have you share a little bit about what you're doing with women in your organization who have come from war-torn areas similar to your own experience, come to the United States, don't understand the culture that they found themselves in. You're going in and helping them not only learn English, but how to run a vacuum cleaner and how to use running water and all kinds of everyday things that we take for granted. And I know in that process you've had some very interesting stories that, some challenges which we'll talk about. But first, before we get into that, maybe a fun story about that transition.
Thank you, Nancy. It's nice to be here today once again. We have humorous stories with our community, especially new families. When they come, they're trying to be part of the community, but still there's a lot. There's a lot of language learning and a lot of things to learn, new things. But one of the stories that I would want to share is that even a little bit of difference can make overwhelming for them. So one family, they wash their clothes, and then in the morning they find they are frozen because they put them outside. I think there was like back in Africa where you wash them at night, hang them in the morning outside, and then the kids can wear them and go to school.
It wasn't like that in Columbus.
No, it wasn't. They were frozen, and they called me, hey, the clothes you gave us, they're weird. Can you come and see what's happening?
They were all hard, and they couldn't put them on.
Yes,
and they
were
didn't
hard as a rock,
understand.
and then cold. Yeah,
Yes.
They couldn't understand.
And so you have many stories like that.
Yes, we have a number of stories, yes.
But at the same time, this transition for women really forces them into very challenging situations and forces them, as they're making this transition, into some very challenging circumstances. So can you tell us a little bit about what these women face as they make this transition?
Okay, there's a lot of barriers and challenges, especially the language barrier. Most of these women, they didn't have a chance to go to school in the refugee camps. So they're just married off as soon as they're 18, they get married, and then they start a family. So when they come here, language is barrier number one. Number two, transportation. Number three, they get depressed because they are lonely. They're isolated from the way they were structured in the refugee camp. They would walk and visit friends, but now they're inside the house, they're isolated. There's a lot of depression. And then a lot of challenges, especially to the new single mothers. There is a lot of things. They're trying to be the household leaders, and when she has children, she's the only breadwinner. Her kids are the source, are her key to her success. So they interpret for her, or they help to call the doctor. So the young kids are really burdened with a lot of the household issues. But the mothers are locked inside, so they want to drive, they want to go to the hospital. So when they want some help, they turn to men, or they turn to whoever who comes their way, and sometimes they are taken advantage of. Sometimes there is bargain. I teach you, you give me something, sometimes money or an exchange of something else, which is very hard to like sexual violence is hidden there, no one talks about it, or there's domestic violence, or they end up forcing themselves to surrender to someone who is giving them help.
So the women who, let's say, go to a man who is going to help them learn more about how to drive or some sort of transportation thing will force these women in exchange for that for sexual favors. There may be hidden domestic violence issues that are associated with that relationship. And as you and I were talking about yesterday, the normal channels for helping these women are not really available because they are afraid afraid. They're afraid to go to a shelter or to call the police. They're afraid that something else bad's going to happen.
Yes, they're afraid. Like for instance, when you talk about the sexual violence for a mature woman, a girl who is 18 and above, they say it's okay because you're a woman. You are entitled to that. And then for refugees or for other women who are coming from torn-out or war zones, they fear the police. Calling the police is another tale. They say, oh, if I call, I'll be condemned that I'm the one who caused it. So they don't call the police. It's hidden there. And then there's cultural norms. The cultural norms hinders them to talk about anything about sexual or rape that has happened to them.
And so, given there are 1,000 women here today at this luncheon, Nora, what can we do to be helpful?
Okay, there's a lot that we can do. There's especially when you talk about the young girls, 10 to 15. These girls, it's a new, I can call it a new nation in our city. These girls need more help because when they come here, they take a lead, they learn a lot. Like the two girls we have seen here, they want, our community girls, they want to be the Americans, they're new Americans, but they don't have any mentors. Because even just a simple example, when they have homework, who helps them? Because the parents are illiterate. But the parents, they don't know English, who helps them? And then they need guidance because a lot of young girls, 10 to 15, they get in trouble because they want to dress nicely, they want to have cell phones, and who is there to help them? So they find alternative. They go on Facebook, they find men, so that men takes advantage of them. So I would encourage or add to anyone who is here today, we need mentors. We need a structured place for these women. Because if you send them the shelters, it is not suitable for them.
Right.
Like the food itself. Some of them, they don't eat pork.
Right.
So when they're there, they don't feel safe. They go back to the bad relationship.
So all of us, anyone who's interested in helping Nora and these refugee women as they make this transition, we encourage you to volunteer, encourage you to donate an hour or a week of your time or whatever you can. And information about that effort will be on the YWCA website, and we'll direct you to Nora for you to volunteer. And Nora, you are a true inspiration, given everything you've been through your life and the way that you're constantly giving back. You're an inspiration to me, you're an inspiration to all of us, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.